This is Gabriel Gonzalez for Cage Side Press here with the UFC flyweight who is taking over business and now starting a new endeavor in her personal life, fighting Jamey Lyn-Horth on December 14th in Tampa, Florida. It is Miranda, Fear the Maverick. Miranda, obviously a couple weeks out from the fight. How are you feeling? How are you doing?
Good, feeling skinny. I'm at weight where I need to be, ready to go. We're very excited. Definitely at the peak right now as far as sparring and all that. So feeling good. Wish the fight was tomorrow.
So, if I'm being honest, every time I talk to you, you got something new going on. I interviewed you once and suddenly you're in the pickle business. I interview you the next time you're in the honey business. And now you've been recently posting about it, undertaking probably the biggest thing any human being can do. You are looking to adopt and gr expand your family. I want to start there because we could talk about the fight all day. What made now the right time for such a big life move and just everything else?
Man, I've been wanting a kid for a while. My husband and I are at a space where we both want children, and right now, among other reasons, it's just not feasible with my career, of course. And we've always wanted to adopt. We've talked about it since the first date, pretty much, like it was mentioned. So, we discussed it then, we discussed it now, and it's been a long and scary and expensive journey, but we're finally to the point where we will start matching probably the day after my fight. Wait until that fight stress is over with. And even though we won't know when a baby will be put in our arms, it could take up to like a year kind of thing. We're hoping it's sooner rather than later and fight won't interfere with it. But the baby at that point would become first priority.
That's really amazing. Uh, all right, there's so many big questions you can ask regarding that. I tried to narrow it down to the most specific one. Can you put into words what you want that feeling to be like when you first meet your child?
Yeah, to be honest with you, I'll kind of go through our thought process for adoption. We wanted our own children first, and it was one of those things where we were like, well, we want our first shot at parenthood to be our own blood, our own genetics. And then we were discussing it, and I was like, well, then why are we adopting to begin with? Like, if we think we're going to treat them different or feel different towards them as parents and stuff. I think, how Christ adopted us into his world, into his kingdom is how we should adopt here on earth whenever we can. And if it helps a child and brings them into a better life, then better for it. And so that's kind of where we're at, is we just want to have a better life for this child than maybe it would have had. And we'll treat it just as if it was our own blood and our own genetics. And we're very excited. I'm sure I'll be crying and everything else. I'm an emotional person as it is. But we're very excited. We have no idea whether it's going to be a boy or a girl, the race it's going to be, the state we're going to go pick it up from. And there's like a 30% chance that we won't even know about it until the day of they call us and say, hey, come grab this baby. So, all the chances are up there of everything. And we're just very excited and hopeful that the birth mother and the baby are both healthy and safe.
I mean, that is about as, one to, play on words as real as it gets for all our UFC listeners out there. As dramatic as it could get, I can only imagine. I'll leave it with this one because obviously, as you said, wait and see. Um, One day your child's going to get a little older and they have YouTube and they have social media to see mom out there throwing elbows, knocking people out with a 6 to 12 elbow in her UFC debut and all this sort of stuff. Have you thought about how you're going to explain, it's like, yeah, this is what mom does or used to do, like what that
Yeah.
conversation will be like?
Listen, it's a lot easier than explaining why I'm on OnlyFans with my butt hanging out, which is what a lot of women out there do. For me, the fighting, I'll explain to them that it is a sport, but I'll also explain, God's abilities that he gives people and how I went after whatever potential I had there and how it became into being with MMA, and on top of that, like how the sport works, I never got hurt too bad, explain to them the injuries that do come, the mental toughness that it gives you, the adversity that you face in life, and how life's going to knock you down no matter what career path you choose, no matter who you are or what you're doing in life, and that they're going to have to get past that too one day. And hopefully they can understand that they can be strong and tough and kind of go after whatever they think that they can in life.
I absolutely love that answer. And I think the biggest compliment I can give is, you seem to me as someone, if I had to think of someone who has multiple, cell phone businesses, has a full-time job, is a professional athlete, and then told me that they are going to do something really huge like adopting a child, I can think of few people equipped to handle all that than you. That's about the
Oh,
best
thank you.
compliment I could give you,
Thank you.
Miranda.
I appreciate that. And I will say there will be other things that fall once I decide to have this child and once we adopt, whether it be the full-time job or pickles and honey kind of have to be handed down the line to somebody else. We'll kind of see what decision we make. But obviously, it helps that I work fully remote. Pickles and honey are long shelf life, so I can work hard for 2 months a year and then set them there and just maintain the bees and stuff like that. So there's different options, and Pete works fully remote, so that helps too. And one thing that we never want to have to do is have strangers watch our children in daycare or anything like that. So we're very devoted to spending all the time that we can with the kids and keeping them either with ourselves or family members.
Let's talk a little bit of MMA because that is what we're here for. What exactly was this that went on with Tracy Cortez? Because I noticed you announced the fight. She didn't really, but then it's like, uh, I'll be very blunt. My one question would be, if your opponent is saying this fight is happening, what took you a minute to tell everyone that it's not happening? What exactly was the miscommunication from your end as it was described to you?
I have no idea. She reshared all the stuff on her story about our fight and things. And it's not like you have a miscommunication for 6 weeks. Listen, that doesn't happen. Like we knew about the fight like 2 weeks before I ever announced it, before we got the contract and we're able to put it all out there. And then 3 days after I announced the fight's off, she finally gets on Twitter and says some bullshit about how oh, I'm having surgery, there's miscommunication. Like, what does that mean? What does that even mean? Like what kind of surgery are we having? Is it serious or are we uh, you know, I don't know. I don't know what to expect because for her it's not like this is the first time she drops out or I'd feel a little bit different. Out of her last 6 fights, she's dropped out 6 times. And that doesn't mean every fight. I'm saying in the same time frame that she's fought 6 times, she's dropped out now 6 times. And that's insane to me. Like that you can't just be like, oh, don't feel like it today, or I decided to schedule this, can't fight. Like, no, not acceptable. And it was about a week before the fight got canceled. I was actually getting fans sending me pictures of her at the UFC fight, and like friends of mine who had seen her at the fights that were like, she is big right now. Like, she is not looking fight ready. She's got nails on this long, how's she striking with that? And I was like, man, she's not planning on showing up to the fight. I was like, any day she's going to drop out. I've already said this in the past fight that we were supposed to have. And then what happens? A week later, I get the call and they say, hey, looking for a new opponent for you. Tracy dropped out.
Um, Look, obviously you're looking to move up the rankings, fight a ranked
Mhm.
fighter, get yourself in there, back there, et cetera, et cetera. If they were to come to you for a third time and said, "Hey, Miranda, one more time, Tracy Cortez,
Absolutely not. It's
period."
already been kind of an agreement with the matchmaker. Like, this is ridiculous. This is the second time I've tried to fight her, basically. Yeah, you could argue that the first time wasn't her fault and all that jazz, but with as many times as she's dropped out, to have this second chance, do that again and not show up for the fight, I don't see why she deserves another chance. Like, give somebody else the chance, unless just no one else wants to fight. But it's ridiculous. I mean, if I were Tracy, I probably wouldn't want to fight me, especially after the way she performed against Rose, who is a training partner of mine who I do very well against. And it's like, man, I probably wouldn't want to fight me either, but at least be a woman about it, so to speak, and say like what's really happening. Like, don't play the whole game of, oh, I had this scheduled, such a miscommunication. It's like, if it was a miscommunication, then we should have rescheduled it, not just, nope, I drop out.
Fair enough. I do have two follow-ups regarding it.
Mhm.
Did you ever get the impression that she just hasn't been jazzed up about you as an opponent? And because so since, in the last couple of months, she's had this little bit of back and forth with Eileen Perez.
Mhm.
Not that this other one-sided, but still, I hear Jasmine Jasdavicius doing interviews saying she really wants a rematch with Tracy, and it's like, I feel like Tracy's in a lot of talks. She's being mentioned a lot for people not named her opponent Miranda. Did
Yep.
you ever get that impression too, that somehow it was just
Oh, for sure. I
somehow,
mean,
yeah,
Tracy's this hype name that has a lot of fandom because she's basically become a meme of MMA from all her filtered pictures and posts that she puts out there. And like the entire Hispanic community and man community as a whole are like, oh, she's so hot. And it's like, cool. So she became famous and how did she even get ranked? She's never fought a ranked opponent, but like one now. and she's somehow ranked number 12 in the world, never has to fight people. And as soon as she wants to fight, boom, she gets thrown in there. Meanwhile, the rest of us, when we drop out for fights, don't get to fight for 5 months, 6 months, because we got our opportunity. There's just a lot of politics at play in this. And that's the same reason girls want to fight her. We all want to hop on the hype trains and beat the hype trains so that we can move on up the ladder when people look up to that person. And for me, I mean, man, why am I not getting a ranked opponent to replace? It wasn't a short notice replacement. They have 5 weeks to get ready. That's more time than just about any other fight promotion allows someone other than the UFC. Invicta usually gives you your fight about 3 to 4 weeks out. Like, who you're fighting that quick. And they have 5 weeks. I know at least two ranked girls that said no and have said no in the past. Like, why are we playing this game? You just don't want to fight because the style doesn't work for you? At what point did the UFC decide that, oh, I just don't feel like fighting, or they're scary, so I don't want to fight? We're turning slowly and slowly into like a shit show over here.
Okay, look, very bold, very fair. You're looking for a fight. People aren't accepting it. I can definitely understand the frustration. I was listening to your interview with Georgian Goes over there at MMA Junkie, and I
Mhm.
did want to ask, you brought this up. You always seem to become the antagonist when you're fighting the Instagram model
Mhm.
types. I
Yep.
kind of want to hear about this because let's just put it bluntly, it's not a problem I have. So I want to know, look, Miranda's perfectly friendly. You do photo shoots too. By the way, congratulations. That was a lovely photo shoot you shared celebrating your 3-year anniversary with your
Yeah,
husband
thank you.
Pete. And I'm like, how is this a thing that happens? But you explain it to me. What is it with the fan?
Yeah. I think, a girl's got muscles and boom, they're more manly than the others, especially when put up next to the Barbie dolls that filter their faces and get lip fillers and Botox and all that jazz. And I stay all natural. I don't put on makeup every time I go to the gym and take photo shoots. Like the photo shoot with my husband, that was the day we got eloped. Like, I don't go out there and do that stuff every day, and that's not all I post. I try to throw genuine stuff in there. Like, people get to see who I am. They get to see it with the bumps and the bruises and the scratches and me not all makeuped up. Sometimes it's training photos and whatever else. And, the Tracy's out there, the Liana's way back when I fought her, like all that, they don't have that on there. It's just them full out makeup right before they train, or the video they had someone take for a sponsor before they train, that kind of stuff. And I think it becomes this imaginative thing for fans where they're like, oh, that's how they look all the time. And it's like, no, like that's not how it works. It's just not realistic. And yeah, every time I fight an Instagram model, it becomes this whole, is that a man? Is she transgender? Da, da, da. Like, so much hate that I get on there. And I do get that I'm muscular for a female. And I think my drug tests have shown that I'm definitely a target for that too. So I've come clean every time, and I've shown pictures of myself when I was young, all the way to growing up. It's frustrating to say the least, but the way I see it is I have a very handsome husband and I have fans that are going to stick with me no matter what. And as long as I've got that, I've won in life.
I'm with it. I definitely get that. For the record, is there anything wrong with wanting to feel a little glamorous on the gram? Because I think on a lot of levels, a lot of people are guilty of that. Just
Oh,
for the
yeah.
record, is there anything wrong with liking feeling glamorous?
No, not necessarily. I just think if you're going to be real and have that perspective out there, then be real in that way. She posts about being real and genuine all the time, and then it's like the filtered photo beforehand. I don't even hate on Tracy for it. I hate on the fans that go into that guise of, oh, you're ugly because you don't look like this every day. And it's like, are you so stupid that you don't understand that's not her after training or during her daily workouts? Like, I don't know. And again, I don't care. You want to look good on your Instagram and make it to where it's like your best out of 20 photos thing, then go for it. But the fan base that hates as a result of that is the crazy part.
I would like to shift gears a little bit. Last time we talked to you, you were just launching, high stakes honey. Obviously, Prowler
Mhm.
Pickles is continuing. How has the honey business treated you compared to the pickle business?
Not as good on online sales, I would say, because a lot of people like buying like their local honey wherever they are. But I've been going to like the Tanner gun shows out here and had farmers markets through the spring and summer, and those went pretty well. In fact, there's a gun show this weekend that my husband's helping me do, and we'll go set up the honey and pickles there. And if anybody wants to check them out themselves, it's prowlerpickles.com. I have the honey and the pickles on there, two separate shops. So go check them out. It's all local fresh honey. I have Colorado and Missouri options, and I'm actually going to have a Black Friday special of orange blossom special honey that comes straight from a local beekeeper in Texas.
Let's go. I might have to place a couple orders of myself. Let's just keep it real. A couple other things. I want to ask you, shift gears a little bit. One we haven't talked about, but I think anyone who's followed you and actually reads the captions and all that, your faith is very important to you. Living traditionally, Christian values is something that is just very near and dear to you. And one of the things I've heard you talk about, and I'd like you to expand on, some people may not see the connection being able to share the word through God through a professional career like fighting mixed martial arts.
Mhm.
Can you explain it to me from your perspective, what that means of being able to do that?
For sure. I mean, for me, any platform that you have, whether you're a preacher from a pulpit, whether you're a kid in high school saying, hey, you should read the Bible more, or whether a professional athlete and I get to be in front of thousands of people when I'm on the mic, even something as little as thanking Christ above for my opportunities, for my abilities, to be able to show on my Instagram how it's influencing my life and how my lifestyle is day in and day out. It's my responsibility as a Christian to try to live those values out and show people that Christ is in my life by how my life is turning out. They say that people can judge you by your fruits. And so I hope that I have good fruits that are godly fruits that people can say, wow, she's really doing good in life. She's trying to be the best version of herself we can. We're all dead in our sins and transgressions. Like none of us are ever going to be perfect. None of us are ever technically good people aside from God. So I hope people can see that through what I do, whether it be fighting. I see that as one little small percentage of who I am in life. But it's the biggest thing that other people see. And so if I can use that to show who I am, great. And that doesn't mean like going in there and every punch I throw is for God. I don't see it that way at all. But I do see it as my platform, the ability I have to share who I am. I need to be sharing him too. Like the whole song, only Jesus. It's like I get to walk out, I get to have the glory, but at the end of the day, I need to pass that glory on to God. They need to remember that God and Jesus got me there, not I got me there.
Completely get that. Thank you for being very candid with it.
Mhm.
A couple other things. We talked about this last time. You've made it onto the trading cards. I still think they haven't added you to a recent set yet. I think that's a little criminal. I think it's about time. You got 200 fighters. I think Miranda deserves it. The goal is still to make it to the UFC video game. Maybe if your son
Yeah,
or daughter
freaking
one of
why
these
why am
days.
I not in that yet? That's the part that irritates me. As far as the cards, I don't know if I'm allowed to announce anything, so I won't. But let's just say that next year there will be some big stuff coming out for me.
That's what I love to hear. Hint, hint, wink, wink. I'm with it. We need to do another opening. That was such a fun video. People
I
still
know.
message me and say it was
I know.
like we want to see the whole box with you two. Let's go.
That's right. We'll have to do it next time. I still got
Great.
enough knowledge in there to make it happen.
I mean, we might have to do it virtually. I'll send you a few packs and we do this by Zoom. We'll
All
get
right,
creative.
sounds good. I'm
Um,
sure at some point next year I'll fight in Vegas and maybe we could make it happen then. And
let's
and we'll
go.
have some of my new cards in your hand, potentially.
Let's go. Not for nothing. Look, breaking the fourth wall, people know I do on my personal channel, I do some card openings. I might
Mhm.
have recently gotten another Miranda Maverick, so we're gonna have to talk about that. Let's
All
go.
right.
Switch into Jamey. Obviously, stylistically different from Tracy. Just what do you think of her game and what she brings to the table as an opponent?
I messaged her because I'm very thankful that she took the fight. We asked many, many people. Many said no. Myra Buena Silva said yes, but she wanted to fight in February. Obviously, she has a fight against Montana at that point. And I was like, no, I get it. Like, she was probably going to have trouble cutting weight. But at the same time, like, I have a whole adoption surrounding this fight date. I wanted it December 14th, and that's when it's going to stay. And so, Mick came back and was like, I mean, if you're willing to take unranked, I'll just start looking. I was like, please do. And Jamey came back, said yes. So I messaged her and was like, hey, let's put on a good dance and good performance for these people. Thanks for taking the fight. Much respect to you, something along those lines. And she just said, same back to you. Thanks, thanks. And let's put on a show. And so very nice, cordial for now. And in the cage, obviously, it'll be different. I think as far as her skill set, I'm better in all areas. I mean, obviously, anybody's going to say that. I would hope on interviews and stuff. I hope they have that confidence. But I think I'm almost ranked for a reason and have been ranked for a reason. And in my own mind, I'm in the top 8. As far as my skill level and all that, I just haven't had a chance to climb to that point yet. I've been improving every single fight. My ground game is much better than Jamey's is going to be. The only thing she has on me is reach, and I love it when I fight taller fighters. It just makes more openings for me.
2025. big things potentially, a lot of things going on in your personal life. If you could say, we're in late November right now, this time next year, where would you like Miranda Maverick to be?
Man, the same place I said I wanted to be this year, you know. Like I said, I haven't gotten to climb the dang ladder. I've been there. I've been 14, I've been 15, I've been 14 again. And it's like, okay, like why can't I get a ranked opponent? It just hasn't worked out for me. So I'm hoping next year some people say yes and I get 3 fights a year again, just like I have this year, which has been awesome. And keep working my way up. I want to be in that top eight, you know, looking at that top eight, getting to where I'm a title contender by the next year, and hoping I have that new contract to keep working myself up with too. So this is my third fight out of four on my contract, and I'm excited to put a stamp on it with this win.
Well, love to hear it. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I think that we could leave it at that. Miranda Maverick will be back in action December 14th, final UFC card of the year, Tampa, Florida, ESPN Plus in the United States. You guys know where to go. Miranda, best of luck. Have a great one.
Thank you.